Good morning, Scotland. Good morning, social media land. I hope you're well. It is Tuesday, the 22nd of April 2025. There is a reason some people still cling to the idea of both votes SNP. It feels safe. It feels loyal. It feels familiar. And for a long time, it made sense. Back when the SNP needed both votes to break through anyway. Back when independence felt like a one-party mission. But that was then. And this is now. We are not in 2011 anymore. The political terrain has changed. The electoral map has changed. The movement has changed as a whole. What we face now is a rigged union, a hostile UK government and a voting system designed to stop us from winning power the traditional way. And if we don't adapt to that reality, we lose the advantage we've just started to understand. Because here's the truth, both votes SNP no longer delivers the strongest outcome for the independence movement. And now we can prove it. We're not making, theoretical arguments anymore. We're not dealing in guesswork. We have the real data, the real projections, and the real chance to do something we've never done before. Build a super majority for independence that includes all of Scotland's pro-Indie voices. So if you've supported both votes SNP in the past, good. Thank you for doing that. It came from a place of passion and belief, but now it's time to look again, to ask what gets us further, loyalty to a party or a strategy for a nation. And let's be honest, what works and what no longer does. Because the future of this movement depends on our ability to grow beyond what feels safe and start doing what actually works. Let's get one thing clear, this is not an attack on the SNP. The SNP remains the dominant pro-independence force in Scotland, and every single seat they win in the constituencies is vital. That's why the first vote, the constituency vote, absolutely must go to the SNP across the whole of Scotland. But the second vote, the regional list, where things fall apart under the old way of thinking, under the additional member system, the more seats a party wins in the constituencies, the harder it is for them to win on the list. That is not an opinion, that is just how the algorithm of the D'Hondt method at the heart of the system is designed to do. It produces a proportionality, not pure proportional representation, but a kind of proportionality. But what it really does is block landslides and protects unionist parties from being wiped out. In 2021, the SNP got over 136,000 votes in the south of Scotland. And what did that deliver? One seat. Just one. Yet if those same votes had gone to a second pro-independence party like the Greens or ALPA or ISP, it could have delivered 3, maybe even 4 seats. 4 MSPs speaking for independence instead of 1. That is not a risk. That is a very positive thing. Now fast forward to 2025, where you see the data from Find Out Now and the Curtice analysis showing exactly what happens when voters use their second vote wisely. The SNP dominates the constituency, and on the list, the Greens are projected for 15, ALPA potentially 7. That's kind of like a total of 22 additional pro-independence, pro-Scottish voices in Holyrood. And none of it would have been possible if those list votes had all gone to the SNP. So when people say both votes SNP protects the movement, we have to ask, protects it from what? From gaining more seats? From having a wider range of pro-independence voices? From becoming a true Scottish Parliament for the whole nation, representing everybody, in the independence movement. Because what we're seeing in that polling is a 79-seat pro-independence, pro-Scottish majority, and that is 10 more seats than the SNP got back in 2011. And it only happens when voters ignore the fear-mongering and vote with intent, with strategy. But still, the old arguments return, and we know where they come from. There's a small but very loud contingent of SNP hardliners who insist that any vote not given to the party comes across as a betrayal. They say strategic voting is splitting the movement. They accuse pro-independence voters of being agents of the union if they vote Green or Alapa. They dismiss the data, deflect the logic, and double down on loyalty at all costs, even when the data says otherwise. Let's call it what it is. It is gatekeeping, and it is doing more damage to the independence cause than the unionists ever could. These hardliners are not the majority. They are vocal, aggressive, and too often allowed to define the tone of a debate. They shout down anyone who questions their view. They peddle the lie that the voting system punishes diversity. They pretend tactical voting is gaming the system, when in truth, it's the only way to beat it. And then there are the provocateurs, the ones who show up online, always with the same message of both votes, SNP or you're a unionist. They don't campaign, they don't canvass, and they don't show their faces. They push division and demand obedience. Ask yourself, who benefits from that? It's not the movement, it's not Scotland, and it's definitely not independence. The truth is, unity does not mean uniformity. The pro-Scottish, pro-independence movement is broad, diverse, and evolving. A Holyrood filled with SNP, Greens, Alapa, ISP, or even the New Scotland Party, and independence as well. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a mature democracy. It shows that independence is no longer the dream of one party. It is shared as a project of the people. And that scares the union more than anything else. We didn't get to 56% support for yes by staying the same. We got there because voters started to think for themselves. They stopped waiting to be told what to do. They stopped following orders from party machines. They started voting like the movement actually matters more than the party machine. We should be proud of that. We should build on that, not retreat from it. So to those who still cling to both votes SNP out of habit or fear, we say this gently but clearly. There is evidence now that the old strategy is no longer the best one. It doesn't deliver the most seats, it doesn't deliver the widest representation, and it will never deliver independence. We don't defeat unionism by playing it safe. We defeat it by outsmarting it together. So ask yourself this. Would you rather have a parliament with one pro-indie party in charge, or a parliament filled with 79 or even more MSPs who all want to see Scotland take its place among the nations of the world? Would you rather protect a party's dominance or build a national cause that belongs to all of us? Because that's what strategic voting does. It doesn't divide the movement. It multiplies it. It unites it. And if we want to win, not argue, not repeat, not just remember, but win, then we need to vote like a movement and not a machine. This is our time, but only if we're brave enough to evolve and grow. But we can do this.
We were whispers in the wind, but now we're thunder on the rise. nights were long. Built it small, but we burned so strong. Hands in rain and hearts in stone. We stitched a flag they've never known. They called us broken, called us lost, but we carved our will through every frost. And every word they thought would fade is now the drumbeat that we've made. You can hear it in the ground now. 1,000 feet draw near. We're not waiting for permission, we're already here. We rise in color, not in chains. Voices loud across the plain. We were fragments, now we're flame. This is how a nation calls its name. And we're never going back again. From the cities to the isles, every step adds to the miles. From every door, from every fight, we turn the silence into light.